Being a math teacher by day, Pi Day is one of my favorite holidays. And what better way to celebrate than by making a delicious pizza. And I'm going to show you how to make a unique BLT pizza to celebrate Pi Day. Let's go get it started. Okay, to get us started, we're gonna make a pretty simple dough. It's really important that when you pay attention to all the ingredients that we use for this dough, it's important to note that we are weighing all of our ingredients when making any kind of a bread or a dough for a pizza or anything like that. Weighing is always better than trying to measure out with cups and things like that. So all of my ingredients have been weighed out on a kitchen scale. I highly recommend that be the way you do things. So let's come over here and make the dough. So we're gonna start here with our stand mixer. So we started with about 1.5 cups or 375 grams of warm water. And this is warm, like from the faucet, but I got it pretty warm so that it's got up to about 85 degrees Fahrenheit. To that, we're gonna go ahead and add our dry yeast. We only have about 6 grams of dry yeast here. And then we're going to add to that about 15 grams of sugar. And this sugar is gonna help kind of activate that yeast and make the yeast nice and happy and make it bloom the way we want it to. Now, this is not a dough where you have to let the yeast rest and bloom ahead of time. That's kind of nice. So we can go ahead and just add in the rest of our ingredients, which I'm gonna do some olive oil next. So I have about 15 grams of olive oil as well. And then we're gonna do about 12 grams of salt in there. And then the final thing is our flour, and I'm using a bread flour for this because the bread flour has a higher gluten content, and we want that higher gluten content for this dough to kind of help us with some stretch. So here we have about 600 grams of bread flour. And we're just gonna add all of those ingredients into our stand mixer here. And we've attached our dough hook onto our stand mixer. And we're gonna go ahead and let that start spinning on low. Okay, so you see how everything's kind of pulled together, and you see how it's kind of cleaned up the side of that bowl and pulled everything away from the side of the bowl. That's what we're looking for. So now we're at the point where we could go ahead and flip this to high, and we're gonna let this go for about 4 minutes on high to knead the dough for us. Okay, so we've let that dough go for a few minutes. You can see that it's cleaned up the bowl really nicely on the side. That's a good sign of what we're looking for. And another test you could do is when you pull it away from the hook, you should see that it doesn't break easily, that it kind of maintains that structure and stays together. Okay, so now we're gonna take this and we're gonna pull it out onto a work surface. So I'm actually gonna add a little bit of oil to my hands. Now we're not trying to knead this dough anymore. We're just gonna get it divided up. And so I'm just gonna use my dough spatula here, and we're gonna try to divide this up. This is enough dough to where you should be able to make, depending on the size of your pizza that you're wanting, it could be anywhere from 6 to 8 pizzas, okay? I'm going for kind of smaller pizzas here, so I'm gonna actually divide into 8 little balls here. Okay, so we've got our dough balls. And so what I would do at this point is I would kind of flatten them out, and then we're gonna fold them over on top of each other again, flip it over onto that seam, and then we're just gonna roll it in our hands right here. And then you have your nice little dough ball, okay? And then I'm gonna take a sheet pan over here, and once again, I'm going to lightly oil that sheet pan. Okay, very light oil. This will help prevent it from sticking as it rises. So we're just gonna spread some oil around on the sheet pan here. And we're gonna take our little dough ball that we made, and we're just gonna set them evenly on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of my dough balls here and get them all portioned out. Okay, so you'll probably notice that I divided my dough balls up onto 2 different sheet pans, and this is mainly because with this particular dough, you can just as easily wrap these dough balls up and leave them in the fridge overnight, and they'll actually absorb more flavor and they'll taste better the next day. You just need to set them back out about 2 hours before you want to use them and let them come to room temperature and let them rise a little bit. Or if you don't want to wait, you can pull them out, or you can leave them out and let them rise for about 2 hours before you actually use them, and then they're ready to go. So I'm gonna actually only make a couple pizzas tonight. So I'm gonna leave these 2 dough balls right here out for tonight, and then put these in the fridge, and we can use them tomorrow to make other pizza, or maybe some calzones or something with those. So I've got them wrapped, and I'm gonna leave them sit out for a couple hours. Okay, so my dough has been rising for a couple hours, and we're about ready to start cooking our pizza and start getting things ready. So since I'm making a BLT pizza, I have thrown some bacon on here on the Blackstone E series electric griddle. I'm not gonna cook this like till it's super crispy, because it's gonna cook a little more on the pizza oven, but I do like to at least start cooking it. You can't put raw bacon on a pizza because it just doesn't cook all the way through. It doesn't get crispy. Okay, so now that we've got our bacon going, while that's cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up some Roma tomatoes here. This will be obviously the T for our BLT pizza. You could see with my bacon that I didn't let it cook all the way until it was like super crispy, because I want it to crisp up a little bit on the pizza. But I am going to go ahead and cut it up into small pieces so that when I put it on the pizza, it's a little easier to spread around. But since this is a bacon focused pizza with a BLT pizza, I want those bacon pieces to be kind of big so that I got plenty of bacon on there and it's kind of the star of the show. So I don't know about you, but my favorite part of a BLT is not the bacon or the lettuce or the tomato. It's actually the mayonnaise on the bread. And so I felt like you really needed to have kind of a mayonnaise base for your sauce for this BLT pizza. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna make kind of a mayonnaise based sauce. I'm gonna use, of course, only Duke's mayonnaise. We're gonna get just maybe about a half a cup worth in there. And we're gonna drizzle on top of that, maybe a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. This will kind of help thin it out. It'll also give it a little bit of flavor, make it a good sauce. And then I'm gonna throw in, because it is a pizza, some minced garlic in there. So it can be kind of a garlicky based mayonnaise sauce. We're just gonna kind of stir that up real good. And you can see how that olive oil kind of thins this out. So I've got my sauce, I've got my bacon, I've got my tomato, and I know what you're thinking. You're probably wondering, what am I going to use for lettuce on a BLT pizza? Because you can't cook a pizza with actual lettuce on it. It'll get all wilty and soft and be kind of gross. So when I spent a little bit of time over in Italy and got to try a bunch of different pizzas all over Italy, one of the things that was really popular as a topping on those pizzas there was actually what they called rocket salad. They had actually a rocket salad pizza almost everywhere we went. And rocket salad is basically the Italian translation for arugula. And so that's what I'm gonna use for my lettuce, since that's kind of traditional for an Italian pizza. And so we're gonna have some arugula that's gonna go on there. And again, this doesn't go on before it cooks. This goes on kind of as a topping after the pizza cooks. So everything else will go on before, it'll go in the pizza oven, and then we'll top it with some arugula there at the end. Okay, so that should be pretty good. So I think we're about ready to actually start assembling this pizza. So I'm gonna take us outside and we're gonna get the pizza oven going and we're gonna make our pizza. Okay, so we've made it outside. I've got my pizza oven heating up. So you can see it's almost to temp. Okay, so I'm gonna let that keep heating up while we prep our oven, while we prep our pizza. And so you can see here, I've got my pizza dough and it's about doubled in size, maybe even a little more than doubled in size. So it looks pretty good. So we're gonna take that and we're gonna lightly flour a very clean work surface here. Now, one of the tricks here when working with pizza dough, I like to flour the top of the dough itself too. But one of the tricks here is that while you want to use your flour, you don't want to over flour, because the flour actually, if you do have too much of it on the bottom of your dough, when it comes time to cook it, it will actually leave kind of a bitter taste on your pizza. So if you've noticed that your pizza dough, your crust tastes a little bitter, it might be because you just have too much flour on the bottom of it. So I'm actually going to attempt to build my pizza on the peel, just because it's one less movement that you have to do. I don't have to now, once I build it, I don't have to now try to transfer it to the pizza peel, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and flour my pizza peel. I'll go ahead and move my dough onto it and then kind of stretch it back out the way I want it. Got a soft spot here that keeps wanting to open up. We're gonna just keep an eye on that. All right, so here we go. And that's gonna move around kind of nicely, which is what we want for launching. If you notice that it's not moving perfectly, you can always add a little bit more flour in the spots where it's having trouble. Okay, so we've got our pizza. We're gonna add our mayonnaise-based sauce here. We don't need a lot of this, so I'm gonna spread it kind of thin, just to kind of cover the bottom here. I apologize if you hear the squeaky toy. My dogs are out here playing while I'm cooking. It's kind of the fun of cooking outside though. All right, so we get our mayonnaise sauce kind of spread around here. Got that garlic in there. You can see the garlic is spreading around nicely too. Okay. So I'm going to actually do my bacon, a little bit of bacon first, just kind of spread that around. Remember, this is a BLT pizza, so the bacon is kind of the star of the show, so we want to make sure we get plenty of bacon on this thing. Okay, so we got a little bit of bacon, and then I'm going to use this cheese. So you can, of course, use any high quality mozzarella cheese or anything that you want to use. I just got this pizza blend cheese from my local H-E-B. Shout out to all my Texas people who shop at an H-E-B. And I'm just going to spread that around here. I find that this cheese actually works really well. It's got a nice blend here of some mozzarella and some Parmesan, and they even throw in a little bit of Swiss, which is I think pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna spread that around. Make sure we're covering all our edges. Okay, and we're gonna do a little bit more bacon because now we want plenty of bacon on here. So now I'll have some bacon underneath the cheese. I'll have some bacon kind of cooked into the top of the cheese. All right, and then I'm gonna throw down some of this fresh tomato. We don't wanna do like a super ton of this, just a little bit. Just a nice sprinkle of tomato. You wanna make sure you have enough on there where every slice is gonna get a decent amount of tomato on it. Kind of spread that around. Oop. A couple more pieces there. All right, so there's my tomato. And then I always like to top with just another sprinkling of cheese, just because I think it helps when it comes to actually cooking it and getting the toppings to stick. You have that cheese on top, it kind of helps everything stick together. That way nothing comes sliding off, I hope. All right, we're pretty close to the orange here, so hopefully this will launch in here pretty nicely and we can let it cook. Oh. All right, so if you find that your launching is not going super well, I like to have Blackstone's second pizza peel here. It's a little bit smaller, you could see, and it can kind of help push that pizza off into the pizza oven. Okay, I'm gonna say it's probably done. Oh, look at that. Look at it bubbling and beautiful. Okay, so before I throw this on there, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, but if you have an H-E-B near you, H-E-B sells these. You might be able to find them in places where there isn't an H-E-B, but I'm not sure. But these are just giant paper plates that are for pizzas. They're pizza plates. They're perfect for this at-home pizza oven. You can throw your pizzas right on it. And then we can cut and serve and do everything right there on the plate. Okay. So now I've got my fresh arugula here that I'm going to use to just kind of top this to get my lettuce for my BLT pizza. I'm just going to kind of spread that around here. I have seen in Italy where they have just piled arugula on top of pizzas. Like, it looks like you're having a literal salad just on top of the pizza. That seems to be really popular over there. I'm not a huge fan of that personally. So I like to just kind of spread it around a little bit. That way you get a little bit for each bite, but it's not like overwhelming. All right, so let's cut it. Oh, yeah, you can hear that crisp on the bottom. I'm going to do the traditional 8 slices here. Okay, so there you have it. There is my beautiful BLT pizza with that bacon, that fresh tomato. I've got that mayonnaise and garlic based sauce on the bottom. Got the arugula on top for the lettuce. All right, we're gonna give this a try. So let's give it a shot. It's different, you know, because it's no red sauce. It's kind of like a white pizza, but it has that richness from the mayonnaise. The garlic really comes through. It's a strong garlic. It's almost like a garlic bread kind of flavor. And then you've got that crispiness from the bacon. Got the nice crispy crust on the outside, and that cheese. I would say this is a winner. I highly suggest you give this a try. Let me know if you do. Make sure you like and comment, support my channel, and make sure you check out all the other stuff going on Blackstone's pages right now, because they're celebrating Pi Day and they're celebrating pizza all week this week. So you should see all kinds of stuff. There's a great deal on their big pizza oven. This thing is a great, very versatile piece of equipment. I've used it. Actually, this is literally the first pizza I've made on this, and I've had this thing and been cooking on it constantly, and I haven't made pizza up until now. All right, until next time.